everyone. Good day. Today we have a scheduled, planned workshop, a forum, and a special day for a corporate innovation forum. And thank you everyone who joined this session. And I would like to introduce myself. I am Imran Baghirov. I represent the Lutfizadeh Technology Center. And we have a very valuable guests here who sacrifice their time to share with you subjects of corporate innovations before, during, and after the COVID time. And we would like to be very, very valuable to you. That's why we want to make it as short, as sharp, and at the same time, very interesting to you. So first of all, let me introduce to you our team, the representatives here who are spending time with you. So first of all, Mr. Gachay Mirzayev, who is representing the Microsoft Azerbaijan. He is a general manager, Microsoft Azerbaijan. So he has a vast experience in corporate technology innovations. He has been spent long years in this area. So definitely has a lot to share with us, and especially the digital transition. We also have Anar Jafarzada, who is head of the digital strategy, cybersecurity, and technology at Ernst & Young. So we will have a perspective of Big Four, especially in these transition projects, and how it's happening, what happened, and how we are going to further. We also have our guest, Patrick Boscher, who is a strategic tech lead at RegTech, Regulatory Tech. It's a very interesting area. So I hope that he will be sharing with us a lot of interesting things, and he's representing here Pabora.io, the company. Alexander Smirnov representing the Kaspersky company, and he's a technical sales expert. So we will hear from him more about the cybersecurity and what happened and how the big companies like Kaspersky are reacting. So we'd like to be more active for listeners. We have a YouTube channel, and YouTube we are live. So if you are watching on a YouTube, on a Facebook, please shoot your comments, and we will keep it to the end, and we'll try to answer if you have time. So the structure of our discussions, we will divide into 4 pieces to make it really on the subjects. So first of all, we will talk about digital transformation before the COVID. So as we can imagine, what was the situation before? What happened? So we will measure the impact of the COVID. So it was one day and everything changed. And the third thing is about how we reacted, how the companies reacted, what are the success and failures in this area. And the last but not the least, we want to spend the time to talk about the future which waits for us. And therefore, I'd like to start from the first point, which is digital transformation before the COVID era, where we were, what were the trends. I'd like to ask the Gachay Mirzayev, Microsoft representative, to have a brief view on this, where we were. Please, Gachay.
Thank you very much, Imran. I believe you can hear me very well. Really, yes, digital transformation is not new topic. Actually, few times we already touched this topic. But I would like to mention that digital transformation is not just implementation of innovations. It's also changing minds, changing business, changing operations. And of course, here we should talk about 4 pillars, which is very important for digital transformation. First of all, of course, you must engage your customers. Without engaging your customers, you cannot achieve digital transformation, because any feedback from your customers can lead and help you to understand to which direction should you do this digital transformation. Second pillar, of course, here is transformation your products. Of course, if you continue produce same traditional products, but think about digital transformation, it's also impossible. And of course, you have to take a new challenge and have to understand new needs and then transform your products. Third pillar here, of course, is optimizing your operations. I know organizations that only procurement took a few weeks. How you can do digital transformation without optimizing your business processes? Of course, it's very important to for digital transformation, optimize your business processes as well. And last but not least, pillar here is empowering your employees, your workforce. It means that currently we observe that employees are not working immediately at office. They should be enabled to work from anywhere, from any internet connected places. So without empowering our employees, we cannot reach digital transformation. Of course, organizations that have embraced a digital transformation journey are feeling excited and reaping tangible rewards. For example, World Economic Forum estimates that overall economic value of digital transformation to business and society will top 100 trillion US dollars by 2025, which is significant amount. And without jumping to this train and doing digital transformation, you can miss big part from this. Actually, the idea of digital transformation can feel overwhelming, but notion of executing a massive disruption in a single move is part of the problem. If you instead think about it as a journey with incremental steps towards a long-term goal, it becomes much less daunting proposition. Here, I would like to touch top 5 business trends in digital transformation, which can help our listeners start doing this transformation in their organization. First business trend here is we're observing that CEOs leading the digital transformation. As you know, previously, CIOs, Chief Information Officers or Chief Innovation Officers, used to do this digital transformation. But taking into account that CIOs has a limited role and limited empowerment, they cannot do a lot of change. They cannot impact culture of inside company. But CEOs' ability and natural power and also their role enables them to impact culture and business models of their organization. Also, they can involve budget and also take decisions which can speed up this digital transformation. Second business trend in digital transformation is digital education and skill building of workers. We all understand that without properly educated team, we cannot reach any digital transformation. Any project will fail because you don't have enough and adequately skilled employees. So we observe that many organizations have had their digital change initiatives crash because of insufficiently human capability to carry them out and inadequately enabling environment. Currently, lack of inappropriately skilled personnel ranks in the top 5 obstacles in the digital transformation. And third trend in business trends, which can impact to our digital transformation, is better integration of digital initiatives, which means digitalization versus just automation. Many organizations, many companies think that with automating, they can reach digital transformation. Unfortunately, it is not. You should do digitalization, which means that you should integrate all systems all together. Only in that case, you can reach a digital transformation. Just automation is not enough. Key lesson so far is that loosely coupled enabling capabilities like Center of Excellence are better suited to create richer but loosely coupled collaboration among digital efforts. We also see that many companies implementing Center of Excellence toward to remove this barrier and which will help them better deliver integration and better deliver digitalization. Fourth trend here is digital regulations. We also observe that with implementing digitalization, like GDPR and many others regulations arrived, which can somehow negatively impact to digital transformation efforts because they very complex, require some obey some rules, obey some regulations. And of course, many companies sometimes ignore it because they are small or not working on those areas where these rules applied. But global companies should obey these regulations, and it also can impact digital transformation. And fifth, but not last business trend is improved leadership communication, which means that internally and externally public relations will help with digital transformation. There is one negative things. We see that many workers inside the companies are not aware their company strategy. What are their going, what are their organization plans, So it's can prevent digital transformation. So top-down communication has been identified as a main gap in ensuring that workers are aware, coordinated, and able to actively support digital change inside their companies. So we expect that this will help organization to implement very good communication inside, also externally.
Excellent.
We also see some technical trends in digital transformation. I will briefly also touch this. So we observe that better strategic organization and posture of enterprise data is growing. So one of the major issues holding back many initiatives is inconsistent, fragmented, duplicated, and siloed data landscape inside the organizations, which means that if you don't have common enterprise data architecture, probably taking decisions based on the data will be very difficult or sometimes even impossible. So second technical trend, of course, refining and updating cloud strategy. We all understand that combination of cloud services is where virtually all digital transformation efforts will have to flourish. Companies investing in various cloud capabilities from private to hybrid or to multi-cloud. But we observe that multi-cloud, which have called it the future of IT, is not anymore considered the best way. The reality is that organizations are often looking for a single vendor to make it all work. For example, in nearest future, organizations will increase looking to digital transformation target platforms to provide a primary cloud vendor that has business and technical blueprint to considerably accelerate digital change. For example, Microsoft is main trusted partner for digital transformation and most preferred partner, and we don't compete with our customers, and we don't use customer data to enhance search engine and deliver targeted advertisements. Third trend here is adopting emerging technology even faster. We saw that within the last few weeks, digital transformation, which was planned for 6 months, happened within few days. So when you adopt emerging technology faster, you get more results more faster. So the trend shows that organizations get systematically better and faster at fielding emerging technology. Fourth trend here is betting on analytics to the highest degree. Of course, we are speaking data-driven enterprises, but unfortunately, we cannot say that currently all organizations are data-driven and can do decisions based on the data. We observe that spending on analytics, machine learning, and data science is increasing rapidly. And it reached almost 60% of IT budget of companies. We're also expecting that this growth will increase and it will support digital transformation based on results from analytics. And fifth, but not last technical trend is we saw that investment reduced to technical gap. Because many companies missed their systematic updates or they delayed implementation, all this generated big gap. And it also prevents from digital disruption, from digital transformation. And taking into account, consultants strongly recommend that companies started investing to this, close these gaps, which will close them to digital transformation and increase their success. Also, here very importantly to touch is obstacles for digital transformation. I did small research and find 5 major issues which can prevent or could be obstacles for your digital transformation. Of course, first of them is your budget constraints. We understand that budgets is not unlimited and you cannot put many things to your budget. And it's real constraints for many organizations to deliver digital transformation immediately. Of course, second one is overly complex or rigid legacy IT infrastructure. When you have too complex IT infrastructure, you cannot immediately or flexibly implement new solutions. You have to do it very slowly. It takes years to update it, upgrade it. And third obstacle could be lack of full visibility across the digital or end user experience. Many companies just take digital strategy and try to implement without visualizing what will be result, what will be user experience. It's also very important to consider all of these. And of course, 4 obstacles could be lack of availability, lack of available or appropriately skilled personnel, which I mentioned previously. We all understand that without a good team, a skilled team, it's impossible, and it's main obstacles in digital transformation. And of course, fifth but not last obstacle here, it's appropriate prioritizing digital initiatives. If you have several projects and you don't know which one could lead and close you to this digital transformation, probably you will invest to wrong project or spend your efforts on a wrong project, and at the end you will fail it. So briefly, if we talk with digital transformation, which I mentioned in this speech, I believe these trends and these obstacles can help our audience to understand where to start, how to invest, and skilling here is very important, of course. During COVID, what happened and what's going on? Here I can position to Microsoft experience to my last sentence that in Microsoft we are very big and working worldwide, and we saw that during COVID it's also impacted to our business. It's also impacted to our customers, partners, because Microsoft business heavily depends on its customers and partners. But
Mr. Gachay, I'm very, very sorry. Can we divide this subject in a separate parts? Because at this point, we'd like to hear, we heard a lot about digital transformation, and I'd like to hear all the participants, and then we will move to the COVID era so that
understand.
we share
with great pleasure. So yeah, that's briefly about digital transformation. Hope it's clear.
It's very interesting. So I picked up some main points, especially the 4 pillars: engages customer, product transformation, optimizing, and of course the engaging your people. That's very, very critical. And thank you very much for this vast Microsoft experience that you are sharing with us. So I'd like to give the word to the Anar Jafarzada, Ernst & Young representative, especially dedicated on digital strategy, cybersecurity, and technology. Anar, can you share with us in a brief, as one representative from Big Four in Azerbaijan, what is your approach? What was your approach before the COVID? How was digital transformation moving? What were the main trends? Please, Anar.
Thanks, Imran. Actually, I think that what Mr. Gachay already said is very relevant for every company and even for the consultancy. So I'm representative of the consultancy in EY. So I think that the most important thing that we are working with the clients, and yes, of course, we have our own digital transformation inside the EY and across the globe. However, we are also helping our customers to succeed in these digital transformation projects. And what I want to mention that in the 21st century, especially nowadays, the corporate innovation and what we are talking about cannot take place without a proper digital environment. And when I say digital environment, obviously for enterprise, this notion means that this is the time to start this digital transformation. Unfortunately, majority of the companies and organizations has the understanding that it's all about the technologies, cloud, and other buzzy and sexy words. Yes, the technology is the one of the driver and essential part of the digital environment. However, it's all about the people, and as Mr. Gachay already said, the mindset, skills, new competencies, together with various processes happening inside the organization and happening around the organization. Let me bring a couple of examples. For instance, if your organization has willingness to be the vanguard on the market in terms of the digital environment, but the ecosystem and the infrastructure around your organization is not appropriate for these needs, you will not be able to deliver the necessary level of the services, even digital services, for your customer. So this transformation will probably fail, and we saw such kind of examples. And from other point of view, for the companies, especially during this pandemic situations, who are trying to set these remote works for their employees and to boost these remote operations, they can also fail in terms of these activities, because it's not only about having these good and very excellent platforms for online conferencing, for online task scheduling, and so on, but it's also about the processes and the mindset and procedures inside the organizations. Because if your processes are not adapted, you will not be able to digitalize them. And what we actually in EY witness the increased demand in the transformative projects like digital strategy, technology transformations, digital product development, and cybersecurity.
Excellent, excellent. Very interesting. You especially mentioned people, especially mentioned the skills, and especially mentioned the ecosystem. These were the keywords which I took from your speech. And probably you have a pipeline of a digital transformation which you adopt, and probably there will be some challenges and changes afterwards. So I'd like to move on to our next participant, speaker. So I'd like to give the word to Mr. Patrick. He's representing RegTech, so regulatory technologies, and how the companies were happening to survive before the COVID era. What was the priorities? What was the legal frameworks that were standard before the COVID? And please give us more insight about this subject. Please, Patrick.
Yeah, so just before that, so before, starting my own advisory practice this year, so basically I've been with a large financial institution for the last 10 years or so in the area of regulatory technology, even though this term didn't exist back then. So I've been in this area like forever, and the development was very interesting because it was growing, over the last, 5-6 years, from basically nothing to really a major player where, one of the big fours, not the one of, fellows here even called it, I think, RegTech is the new fintech or something like that, in an interesting article. Before COVID, and I would go like the 2-3 years before that. Of course, the demand that came from the business, in particular from customers, for easier products, easier sales channels. As Gachay said, it led to a situation where companies were forced to invest more in their business. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, what happened, they were heavily investing in this. And compliance and regulatory, of course, sometimes a bit slower, in that space. So what happened, of course, that there was, at some point this big peak, all the big fines and all of this stuff coming up. It's been over the last, years anyhow, but the fines increased, and that actually helped, compliance get the motivation, get the attention as well on a board level, for, sponsoring and supporting technologies. Taking care of this, in particular, like the first phase, basically, I would say, like the big chunk was, financial crime with AML and this kind of stuff, where we also industry-wide, had a lot of discussions about, last years about, making sure everyone has stuff on an appropriate level. But this was like a huge and massive investment that everyone has been undergoing, right? It's still ongoing. It's a massive thing. But still coping up with the speed of the business moves, that's very challenging from a compliance perspective, because for those guys in the business, that compliance sometimes is like the people you would involve last, but you can on the other hand put your project at risk, right? So this was one of the major topics. Then, of course, secondly, the big thing came, GDPR and data protection. I think that really was shuffling everything, because before financial crime, it was quite clear, and it's been there with international bodies like FATF. Everyone was doing stuff that was already basically there for many years. So it was just improving, and in this case, really digital transformation from manual checks to automation, right? But then suddenly you had to do the same thing for GDPR, which of course, for basically any company in the world, became like a big challenge. Which I think from looking at from now, it was a great thing to do. It was a huge burden for everyone, right? But it put us to a place where you say, look, digital transformation can even help in something as abstract as GDPR, where you cannot just say you plug in whatever tool, but you have to undergo a complete transformation, a transformation of your data, of your customers, of the mindset of the people, right? Training them on how to comply with this stuff, on top of typical compliance topics. And as far as I've seen, so many companies have done a tremendous job doing this, because it has those many pillars. As Gachay mentioned, people are at the core, right? Get them right in a mindset, and then you get it also right from a technology perspective, at least from a RegTech perspective.
True. Excellent. Patrick, excellent. What I picked up from your talk is especially people love to have speed. This is number one. It used to be like this, and everyone is talking about this. And especially you mentioned about GDPR, which was the last 3 years subject, which was the main subject of regulatory tech. And what I loved from your point, especially what's mentioned, is like RegTech is new fintech, which probably can be true because the compliance.
Someone else, right? So.
Yeah. No offense to anyone, but what's true is it becomes really, really critical because jurisdictions are changing, the globalization at the same time happening, at the same time the compliance. Thank you very much. Very good points pointed here. I'd like to now ask a representative from Kaspersky, Alexander Smirnov. Especially, it's like being one of the big corporates in a cybersecurity, in this safety, the business continuity side. What was your main subject on a plate before the COVID? What was the main trends? Please, microphone is for you.
Okay, thank you, Imran. So hello, everyone. My name is Alexander Smirnov. I represent Kaspersky company. And so I'm a technical sales expert. And thank you, colleagues, for speaking about digital transformation and corporate innovation. And I want to focus more on the cybersecurity approach of corporate innovation and digital transformation. So before COVID, we were collecting some statistics from our security network cloud, and we realized that every day there is more than 400,000 new malware samples every day. That's why, and also a lot of new APT attacks, which are coming every month or something like this. And that's why a lot of companies are started to give more interest to cybersecurity. And that's why, if a few years ago we were speaking about cybersecurity, we were mostly talking about endpoint protection, mail protection, and web protection. And so nowadays, if we speak with some bigger companies about the cybersecurity, we started to speak about more complex solutions like EDR, advanced threat protection solutions, etc. So as I can see, for the past few years, more companies gave more interest to cybersecurity. And also, one more important thing is that nowadays, some companies came to the level of cybersecurity where they want to build their own security operations center. So these companies are focused on building an ecosystem, as also Anar said, so an ecosystem of solutions. And that is the way of Kaspersky. So we are trying to build an ecosystem of our solutions, which can be suitable for quite all the companies from different regions and different job sphere. And also, I want to speak a little bit about industrial companies. So in this topic, I want to mention Industry 4.0 concept. So a lot of industrial companies are following this concept, and they are trying to implement new technologies in their workflow, in their technological processes. For example, Internet of Things. I think all of you know about this trend of past few years. And when the IoT was implemented to industrial companies, Kaspersky found a lot of new threats and new a lot of new attack vectors which can be used by attackers to intrude the industrial network. So that is also one of the biggest trends of the previous several years, and also one of the biggest ways of working Kaspersky. Thank you.
Excellent. Alexander, thank you very much. I was a bit surprised, and because the number of 400,000 a day in new malware versions, it's
so new malware samples,
it's huge. It's
Yeah.
definitely huge, and it's scary at the same time. And especially if we understand how it becomes now critical, because now we will move on to the COVID era, and when we saw that some hospitals are being attacked, or some very critical business value chain operations are being attacked, or this sort of things happening, it becomes really, really complicated. And especially you mentioned about not only simple standalone solutions, but also about ecosystem solutions, which is growing at the same time like we grow. And before our talk, I would like to share with our viewers that we had discussion with especially Mr. Gachay, who was sharing his concerns about the Zoom as well, because there have been issues with the Zoom, because in one night Zoom become very popular, and the new protection, new issues, new challenges happening. At the same time, all of the operations, all of the businesses were moving towards making the video conferencing live. So we finalized the first part before the COVID era. I'd like to ask your participants, please, if you have any question, any discussion or any comments to our discussion, please share here. And also to our viewers, if you have any comments, please share it on our YouTube channel where we are live, and we will try to address that. So please, if you have any comments, let's put on here, and then we'll move on the second subject.
So maybe just one observation, since you're asking from my side, and what was interesting what Gachay said at the very beginning, and I can actually share from a corporate side, this is very true, and a big misunderstanding. I think it has to be emphasized at this point what digital transformation is about and what it is not. From my perspective, the big chunk, and I don't know what you guys think, but the big chunk is really people. Getting the people transformed to a way and say, look, we want to do things differently. We don't want to continue. On the other hand, what I don't think what digital transformation is, and it was very well mentioned, is just robotics. Replacing human labor.
Right.
And I just want to emphasize this at this point.
Excellent point. I think everyone will be agree with this, because it's like people and technology together has to be here, right?
Yeah.
So
I would add also processes, because we cannot avoid processes. People, technology, and processes.
Excellent, excellent, very valuable. Okay, now I think that we can move ahead. We have a now question, but we will move it, keep the question to the end, because this question is like about today after the COVID era. So let's share what happened. What just happened? We just got an impact. It was so unexpected. Even though we say that we have been watching through the China, this COVID happening, we have been watching like it was in a different planet. Let's be fair. And in one moment, it hit us like lightning. And everyone tried to adopt it. Everyone tried to change. So I would like to, at this point, we discuss what happened and how we reacted. Because at the start, we decided to make it in two pieces. Now I want to make it in one piece. So we discuss what happened and how we reacted. Like maybe we share some success stories, failures, and the lessons learned we will keep to the end. So as we started, please, Mr. Gachay, representative from Microsoft, the General Manager, Microsoft Azerbaijan, please share your experience, the COVID era, what just really happened, please.
Actually, Microsoft is working globally, and we are one of the first companies which this COVID impacted, because in China we have very big operations, around 10,000 people. And immediately after this pandemic started, we got internal communication from our global security teams that, guys, there is something strange happening, so be alerted. And of course, we started observing and continuously tracking TV channels, also public news portals. But of course, it's a bit tricky, and you can't every time understand what's true and where is the truth or what's not true. There is many different things. Also, probably Kaspersky employee also can confirm that we heard a lot of fake news around this topic, and even from Azerbaijan, there was few news made fake and shared through WhatsApp and social networks, which even created mess around this topic. Besides that, we started observing that Microsoft also has cybersecurity operations center and cybercrime digital unit. And we observed that due to COVID-19, number of cyber threats also increased immediately. And hackers or attackers started using keyword COVID-19 because people were alerted and everybody tried tracking every news. They tried mass phishing attack around the topic, and it creates even more mess, and people started even very scary. Also, we observed that inside Microsoft, we started initiative to somehow support our customers, our partners, because our customers and partners, we are obsessing and trying to help them to achieve even more. And in that time, our CEO, Satya Nadella, announced that we make remote work tools available for any company globally for 6 months without free of charge, and anybody can apply for it and use it to ensure business continuity and to ensure that you can communicate, because in hard times you must work in teams and you must support each other, and you cannot go to office because it's blocked. Also, you cannot go to any person less than 2 meters, and remote working or social isolating start a new reality, and how we can support in that case. And of course, we also observed that pandemic started. First, it was not pandemic, and later we discovered that this virus, like a computer virus, spreading very fast. Many colleagues know that my background is IT, and from IT we know that when you have some viruses, only microsegmentation can help. It's like a social isolating. So from World Health Organization, when suggestion came that guys, you must be socially isolated, and when we observed that China, everybody locked at home. So I remembered that in computer networks, we also sometimes when we found some viruses, we remove this computer from network, do put in microsegmentation and try to first recover it and then return it back to the network. Same happened globally, and also we observed that big data analytics in action, and immediately from first day there was special web portal where everybody can visit and see how pandemic increases, how it impacts lives, how it impacts people, how it spreads. It also showed that with visualization, it even become more scary. Also very clear for everybody that it's not joke. It's real threat for our lives, for our relatives, for our elder people. And later, World Health Organization when announced that it is pandemic, and already in Azerbaijan we discovered first COVID infected people. It becomes even more real. What as a Microsoft Azerbaijan we did in Azerbaijan, we immediately sent to our customers and partners that we are ready to support them with remote working tools like Microsoft Teams, like remote desktop and other tools which can help them without any charge to support their business continuity. At the same time, we understand that in schools there is a big problem, because schools it's impacting every family, and our government immediately stopped lessons at the schools, and they are looking for solution how they can remotely deliver lessons to children. Also teachers can remotely join. So together with Ministry of Education, we started virtual school project where we heavily involved. You know, for education, all Microsoft tools are absolutely free, and within short period of time, we managed with together with a team of ministry, also team from our Microsoft competent partners, built some front end, also managed to register up to 1.7 million students and around 80K teachers to this portal. You cannot imagine how many sleepless nights and days we spent in that. Especially, I would like to thank from here our team member Emin Akhundov, which is education manager in Microsoft Azerbaijan. And thanks to his efforts, personal efforts, we increased some limits of Microsoft Teams, because Teams by default support some limitations. There are some limitations. For example, in one group, you should have only some amount of people or something like that. He reached to Microsoft internal team and managed to remove these blockers, because in Azerbaijan, now we are #1 in the world, daily active users on the single tenant. You can imagine how many 500,000 students, teachers every day using Teams for lessons. So it's a very big achievement for Microsoft Azerbaijan, and it is worldwide success story right now.
Excellent, excellent. So thank you, Mr. Gachay, and especially, actually, you have done a tremendous role here, approaching on time. You are fast, and getting to the schools you especially mentioned, and especially you mentioned about how you manage the getting to the customers. And probably there were some business customers who reached to you. Any of such cases, like they were concerned, or they were shocked, or they asked some demands. What were the main demands from the business customers to you, Gachay, Mr. Gachay?
Actually, first day we observed that the customers which were reluctant to cloud to reach us and asked how we can support their business continuity with our cloud solutions, like Microsoft Teams, which is online solution, and it's not require any change in your infrastructure, but immediately available to your employees to do remote collaboration. So we almost 44 big customers, where average user size over 1,000, reach to us and get 6 months trial for Microsoft Teams. And we currently helped many of them with skilling, also try to help with adoption. And I must admit that even among government organizations, few ministries, I would not name of them, but even many ministries reached to us and said that we have important meetings, but we cannot go to work because social isolation. Can you please also support us on this? And it was very big surprise for me that the government organization, which was very reluctant and no cloud absolutely during normal times, with COVID, the situation changed, and new reality impacted them to review their strategy again and understand that yes, they need cloud.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Gachay. So it was the main thing is what was about the conferencing, the connecting and talking to each other. So it was like #1 thing. Thank you very much. Now I'm moving in my schedule to Mr. Anar, representing the Ernst & Young. From Big Four perspective, and you have clients all over the world and in Azerbaijan as well, and you represent the digitalization side of the story. So what were your observations? What really happened on your front? What was the failures or success stories which you might share with us and with our viewers? Please go on, Anar.
Thank you, Imran. And almost the same story with the Microsoft as the EY, the global company. We also started, our HQ started to observe this situation when it started to when we received the news from the China. And what I like about this story, that our team, digitalization team, started to create the application for the EY internal network, which delivered the surveys every day on the laptops and the mobile phones, or to all the endpoints, in order to get information about the medical conditions of the worker, and based on this information, they got the advices either to stay at home or to come to office. And as we are working in the people business, this is very important for us. Because we are taking care of our employees and about our partners as well. So in EY, we have long before the COVID-19 work from home. So every employee can get this opportunity to work from home. So from this point of view, inside the organization, we were prepared for this situation maybe. From our partners and customers point of view, I would say that in the beginning of the pandemic, even well technically prepared organizations struggled in switching the way they are working in the teams and develop new products and provide the services to their customers, because like it's obviously too difficult to change the contexts. Of course, and we already see from our partners and clients that many of the organizations losing their market positions and in the revenue and so on, but because of they could not maintain to the large extent their remote operations because of the nature of their business, of course. And despite this, some of the organizations did pretty well. I would say that, for example, the biggest retailer in Azerbaijan showed how the organization can mobilize and create the new innovative products in very short time. So they created the e-commerce platform with implementing the digital logistics, digital supply chain, and went live in only 2 weeks. And this product became very successful. I think that, and many people, of course, saying that this situation for some of the companies is the problem, but for other one is the opportunity.
Okay, excellent. And especially I want to mention about like cases of digitalizations overnight. We have to, I think, invent a new term for this, meaning that COVID pushed us for digitalization in some terms, and some customers which were reluctant to digitalize, or especially the e-commerce subjects or e-commerce companies, had to do it. For example, the same retailer which adopted this thing has had a lot of challenges if you do it in the 2 weeks, obviously. And we have a lot of companies who went online in one night. And of course, this created a lot of challenges in operations, in security, in sustainability. And especially I want to mention one word from the book Innovator's Dilemma. Mr. Clayton mentions, if you are doing the right thing, the disruptions will come to you. So obviously it was a good point. Mr. Anar, thank you very much. And I would like to now move to Mr. Patrick. Especially we have been talking about the compliance, the regulatory. Before the COVID era, it was about GDPR, but obviously during the COVID, it has to be something different. What was the main subject, how it was hit, and what were the reactions, how the customers came to you and what they asked from you? Patrick, please.
Well, the challenge in my experience was, right, I probably picked, like, I don't know, either the worst or best time in history of mankind to say to go out of, of corporate life, to running my own advisory practice and supporting startups. So I was until end of last year, as I mentioned before, supporting or working for a very large corporate, right? And starting this year, running my own stuff, helping, startups. So for me, it was like from one day to the other, an experience that was really, really interesting. Let's phrase it that way. So even basically evacuated myself out of another country because of COVID mid-March. So what I have seen in terms of difference since then, right? I would say until end of last year, everyone was really like focusing on, next year planning and this kind of stuff, and let's do some proof of concepts, let's do this and this and this, and the projects, right, in a corporate life.
Yeah.
They basically put everything basically on hold. Let's phrase it that way, or froze most of the stuff to say, hey, let's get the situation cleared, before in Jan and Feb, we already saw, okay, maybe they're going to really postpone it to next year, where I got a lot of statements saying, hey, we're going to postpone this to next year because we really don't have any idea how to deal with the situation whatsoever. Because how to work together, virtual working, they were expecting this. For everyone was like kind of a new perspective. So of course, from a compliance perspective, what still continues are the high risk projects, because you cannot just terminate them. You cannot just roll out a global GDPR program or a financial crime program or something else and just say you stop it. That's like the worst thing you could do towards the regulators, because then you actively you're taking a business decision to save money. So you're fine. It's not getting down, but it's getting up. So this is what I perceive as well. So this kind of stuff still went on. However, if I look back at the plans that most of the companies had for this year, there were stuff like more looking at consumer protection, because GDPR changed also a bit the mindset, because it said like, let's put the customer first, also from a compliance perspective, and let's protect the customer. So there's a lot of other areas as well, right? Like marketing, how you sell your products, how your products are being designed. So it was on the top of the agenda, but suddenly it got just, I wouldn't say paused or being put at hold, but at least it's not that high, super important topic anymore. So there's certainly a delay, and I don't expect there to be any bigger issues, because everyone knows the situation is like truly bad, right? It's it's the worst situation ever. So they can be reluctant from a compliance perspective, saying, hey, we're not doing this. We're sorry, because everyone knows the situation. And I think that to be like, and also my bilateral discussions with fellows in that area, it's kind of be like that. And I have to be very honest, I don't think it's good. I don't think it's bad either. It's just being pragmatic on that way. On the other hand, what significantly increased, and it's also related to the change that I did, was other areas that got more important than before, which is, for instance, the area of medtech or health tech. How do we make sure, and I'm working together with a startup right now, and also international bodies, and pharmaceuticals and this kind of stuff, and looking on the challenges. How do we get a product to the market which is something that could be like a COVID-19 vaccine, which requires certain approvals, and if you first time go into that area, it's a completely different area, right? But it's highly regulated. And you can see here that even digital transformation is missing. I don't even say has been, whatever, it is missing, right? I'm looking into it. I know, okay, this is not the way you should actually work. There's better and smarter ways that you can work. So what I'm taking out of this discussion is to say, look, of course there's stuff that it's that's continuing, which has to be continued because it's complying with the law. On the other hand, there's stuff where it's say, we're just going to postpone it because if we get a fine, we can defend ourselves in one or the other way. But thirdly, and that's the more interesting part, is how do you get out of that crisis? I've participated in like 4 or 5 of those COVID-19 hackathons all over the world. At one personally as doing stuff, but the rest as mentor. And I really identified this as a huge opportunity, where I thought, okay, this is actually great, right? Following the UN SDGs, I think. And other stuff as well. I think right now is in particular for small companies as well as for large ones, right? If you're a one-man startup or Microsoft, this area is huge. It's massive, and it needs a lot of, from my perspective, what I have seen, a lot of digital transformation. So that's a positive thing. I can just say here, because I see that those people are thinking differently right now as well, and they're looking into how do we get it done, right?
Yeah.
And it's a new thinking that it's going to be in our minds. I mean, from 2 years from now, probably Netflix is going to make a video about this, and saying how did we get it done.
Yeah, excellent. But thank you. And I would like to ask you one question, but please answer yes or no. So the question is, in majority of the cases, do you think that the industries were prepared from regulatory perspective for this sort of the pandemic? Were we ready or not?
Oh, well, you have to be more precise of industry, right?
Yeah.
I think the larger companies, yes.
Yep.
Like the larger ones, because they have protocols in place. But maybe, I guess I can also say something on this part, right?
Yeah.
I think the lower you go in terms of, amount of employees and, how big you are, the less you are prepared.
Yeah, especially if you mentioned that.
So there's no yes or no, it depends on.
Yeah, and we have a latest the genome startup genome research, which report especially dedicated for COVID, which says that around the 65 or 70%, even sometimes more numbers of startups are being really hit by COVID, which has less than 6 months of the runway, which puts very good stressful situation over the startups. I think that you would agree that the biggest impact was got by startups because they were very, very fragile, especially from regulatory perspective. Would you agree with this?
Yeah, well, okay. I'm going to revise what I just said. From big to small, I'm going to exclude the startup world from that description, because startups, I'm going to say, like, let's say like companies, a size of 1,000 employees upwards, right? Yeah. And then you can take my top down approach, or 500 employees, whatever. Yeah. Startups are by design, most of them, they're able to work remotely. They're able to work like from any geography, day and night, different time zones. They're used to it, right? Yeah. I consult startups, here in Europe, in the Middle East, as well as in the Americas. So for me, this, it's quite common to just accommodate ourselves. So yeah, okay, I have to revise my further statement. You're absolutely right. So I think they were very well prepared, because for them it had no impact. The impact, though, for those guys was reaching the guys at the corporates.
The money was not flowing yet. No. Yeah,
if you're a sales guy, with a startup and you want to reach, I don't know. The CEO of a larger company, or that got so difficult, because they had to understand that actually discussion works through VCs like this.
Excellent.
Yes and no answer to your question.
Excellent. Yeah. It was really clear. Thank you very much. Now I want to move to Alexander. Alexander, especially I think that you will have a lot of interesting stories, a lot of them, during the COVID era, especially as you being the technical lead. I can imagine how many companies reached you with some fear, with some scream, or some concerns, or real cases. What was the situation during the COVID time, and how you reacted, how the companies managed the situation? Were they successful, or most of them failed? Please, Alexander.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Imran. So first of all, I want to say about the COVID, like how it happened in Russia. So I think COVID-19 and the self-isolation period will make a really big impact on Russian society. So on the one side, lots of services can be done online now, as we see a lot of students and scholars can study from home, and they can do it online. And also some people are doing sports, for example, online. And I think after this period, a lot of activities which are everyday life activity, will stay online, as they are today on the current time. And I can say the same about the corporate companies, about the industrial companies. So some activities will stay the same, stay online after the self-isolation. So, for example, Patrick said that some of the companies had to start their working from home for 1 day in 1 day. Yeah, I agree with that. I've had several customers who asked me to help them to check if their infrastructure is ready for working from home, and we were trying to give them the specification of all the programs which they will need during the current time. Yeah, and also this approach leads to different cybersecurity problems because when we do it with a rapid speed, when we're trying to go home in 1 day, we can forget about some issues with cybersecurity. So, for example, what we see now is that we have much more spam letters, phishing letters, and also, for example, some people are working from home Wi-Fi, and these Wi-Fi points are not really secured, and so the intruder can do the man-in-the-middle attack and to steal the data from some people who are working from home, and that's also a problem for the companies. And if we speak about the cyber attackers, which are also on the current time, there are much less problems for them nowadays because they are online specialists. They can work online easily. So this self-isolation period is not really a big problem for cyber attackers. Okay, and also, moreover, we see that if we have more points of for intruders to enter the cybersecurity company, to enter the companies, there are more benefits for cyber attackers, and that's also what we see. For example, during the past 2 months, we found the APT attack, which was focused on some Mongolian government company. So there is the public information, we can speak about it. So this attack was, there was some data regarding to COVID and to World Health Organization. So there was an RTF document with some information about the current time. And also there was a table of employees of this company. And then this RTF file downloaded some DLL, then you received the payload, and then you had a backdoor. And so that was happened 1 month ago. Also, we've seen different attacks cyber attacks to hospitals. That's also happening. Yeah, and also Gachay mentioned the fake news. That's also true. For example, we've seen different websites regarding to some official websites to World Health Organization or some others. And also, for example, we've seen some strange website which regards to Corona antivirus. So it was a kind of a cybersecurity program, an antivirus, but of course this website was also corrupted, and that was malware there. Let's talk about the companies, about our customers. So as we can see, a lot of companies are facing financial losses nowadays. And also we can say different areas of fields of work. So for example, FSMG companies, manufacturing, banking, gas and oil, aviation companies. Some of them are very close to bankruptcy, and they are rejecting their financial plans to this year. And that also leads to some reduction of money spent on cybersecurity. That's also what we see, that some of the companies which were not ready to the self-isolation before it, they are trying to buy some cybersecurity solutions, but also they are trying to buy them for the cheaper price. And so they can come not to Kaspersky, but to download some free antivirus. Yeah, and it also can be malware. Yeah. So I think that's all. Yeah, thank you.
Alexander, one funny question. I think this should be happening. So are people aware that the virus, the computer virus, is a different virus like a coronavirus?
Some of the people here may think that that is the same. Yeah, so this is a real website. I can send you the screenshot of this website. So it's not available now, but it was available a few months ago. And also this site was made really beautiful. So when you enter it, you see the beautiful web page, beautiful landing, and you can think that this is a real antivirus, but that's not.
Of course, this is scams happening. Thank you. And especially I want to mention what I picked up from your talk, especially I want, when people go home, they think that it's secure. The last mile is the less secure part, because the Wi-Fi, which is goes over wireless, is your neighborhood is there, and everyone can be the man in the middle. And especially when the people are not aware of the security protocols of the VPNs or transmitting the live data, security, the company data over the public networks. Yeah. Maybe when the people are not aware, then there is not much that big companies can do here. So we also has to come again to the people again. Here I have some questions from the people. So before we go to the end session, I would like to raise them, and please just answer if you want. Anyone can answer. So the question from Teymur Aliyev says that, what do you feel is the biggest strength of our companies right now? Anyone, please, if you have a good answer. Gachay, maybe.
Let me take this question. Of course, working is global company, and we also used to work remote, because many of my colleagues located in abroad, in Kazakhstan, in Europe, in US, and this gives me some sense of be part of some big community, because nowadays we even began to collaborate even more. For example, a few days ago, I had 8 hours in row conf calls with my different colleagues. We used to have less conf calls, but nowadays it's even increased, and we are even more collaborating.
Excellent. Also, so we learn to adapt to the situation quickly,
yes,
right?
Yes, and very important thing, which I feel very proud that Microsoft, as a company, as my employer, has proper tools and proper solutions for our customers and for our partners, which can help them really in these hard days to achieve business continuity, which is very important. If our customers, partners successful, then we are also successful. So this is one thing which I can mention.
Excellent. There is another question from Ashak says that if artificial intelligence is implemented in corporations, can this cooperation segment be deprived of human capital totally? So as I understand, the question is about that, can the robots replace us? So Anar, maybe you answer this question.
Thanks, Imran. Actually, I think that no, because as I said before, even if I'm the engineer by my background and worked as the engineer for the decade, I can say that no, probably no, because we are working with people, we are surrounded by the people, and all of this communication will be the human-based communication. And of course, everyone dreams to see, at least in our lives, that technology will be able to maybe think and feel like the person, but still this is the big question, and for the many scientists and so on. So I think that yeah, in some cases robotics process automation will replace some sectors of people engagement, let's say. However, I think that I think that as we are the people and human beings, and we need to communicate with each other, and there's also the field for the creativity, the people, at least today, and I think that in the nearest future will be the best choice.
Yeah. Thank you. We have another question from Ragima Hanım Aliyeva, who it's a little long question, but in a short, I would say that she asked, will the gadgets related replace the smartphones in the future? So I think that she's asking about the IoT trend, whether it's so strong that we will give up our smartphones for some of the other things. I think that on this subject, again, Mr. Gachay, you have a more bigger perspective on the device trends. What's happening on this place, please?
Before moving to Ragima Hanım's question, I would like add short answer to previous question. Actually, AI amplifying human ingenuity, which means that AI help us with things which human cannot do with bare hands. So that's why we shouldn't afraid of AI, because as electricity, when it is discovered, some jobs disappeared. For example, who used to work with steam technology or mechanical works, because electricity was very efficient. Same here with AI. Of course, some works which is very routine, very boring can go out, because AI robots can take this, but creative things of course can be done humans, and it opens and give us back some free time which we can use more wisely, and spend on creative part. Regarding gadgets, Microsoft in 2018 invested $5 billion to IoT, and we see very big trend on this area. We know that because we also data-driven company, and we estimated that IoT and smart devices surrounding us will increase. Mobile phones, smartphones will not disappear, but their roles will change. Currently, we use only calling, and we use only some, let's say, different gaming or another things, or get some information. But later, this can play a role as a remote control for all these devices. So probably we are become more dependent on our mobile devices, because all smart devices don't have all user interface, and mobile phone could be user interface and for interacting for all of this. And smart devices, smartphones even become more smarter. They will understand human speech. As you know, currently we have Siri, we have Cortana, and they will be even more handy and become personal assistant for all of us. So number of smart devices next few years will increase up to 10. Currently, we have around 3 devices: smartphone, smart Wi-Fi, smart phone, smart TV. But later will be smart refrigerator, smart iron, smart washing machine, or many smart things in our homes.
Yeah, excellent. Maybe Patrick, you have one addition. Please go.
Yes, because I love this discussion and a question about AI and this topic, of course. Because from my perspective, I totally think that you know, AI can, you know, replace a lot of workforce, a lot of stuff, a lot of things that you know, human beings are currently doing right now, you know, on a daily job. But I think it's quite an advantage, because they can leverage it to then, you know, go one step further. That's my personal opinion. On the other hand, what I saw in the last couple of years was the reluctance and the not being state of the art, to phrase it politically almost correct, of regulators to really allow the usage of such technology, you know, making, you know, decisions as human beings would do it. For instance, you know, signing contracts and this kind of stuff. And I've had a lot of discussions with regulators in that particular area. Just want to emphasize this, if someone of those guys would listen, that this is one of the things that, you know, it's very hard to get something, you know, on the road if that particular business is somewhat regulated.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you, Patrick. I think it's time to move on. What's next? What's happening afterwards? Because there are some trends and a lot of speculations that what's going to happen. For example, some people say that the changes which we learned or embraced during the COVID era will stay with us. This is one approach. At the same time, there are people who say that no, we will forget them. We will not build up them, and we'll go back to the normal, which normal means that pre-COVID era. At the same time, there are people are saying that we have to change our behaviors, which is not easy. We have to admit this. And of course, we have to change our habit of thinking big. So from this point, I would like to ask again, back to our discussion, to Mr. Gachay again. Please share your perspective. What will happen now on after the COVID with the companies? Please.
Actually, forecasting and predicting the future always was a challenge, but nowadays we saw already from practices of other countries which were COVID already finished and they are trying to recover for post-pandemic situation. We observe that, reality is different and reality is changed. There is new reality, which is socially isolation has become new reality. Even pandemic gone, many things will stay with us. So hugging, kissing with each other, especially in our culture when people try to very be close, and it will be really difficult. But we had to get used to this new reality. Same thing with technology. We, as a global company, learning best practices from different countries, where during pandemic and after the pandemic, they implemented number of solutions which will remain with us. For example, chatbots. We all understand that many call centers used to have crowded people, a lot of people, but with new reality, it's impossible. And you have to obey 2-meter distance, and you cannot allow all your employees come to your, but number of calls never decreased and even increased due to COVID, due to related questions. So chatbots become one of the things in many countries where they, we see very big growth trend, where people implementing these chatbots. And it can be very handy and it can be very useful to remove overload from your workers and continue with new reality. Second thing is AI, where you implement through thermal cameras, when these thermal cameras in real time analyze the crowd and identify the persons with higher temperature. And then you understand that due to some reasons, maybe they are COVID infected, immediately you can distinguish this one and try to isolate or at least get some analysis or get some probes, understand are they really infected. And with this help of AI, you can decrease the risk of another second wave of infection. Third thing, of course, mobile trackers, where if you are COVID infected person or at least you would like understand where you catch this COVID, you have to use some applications which track your locations and understand where you were at which this. Of course, it do it anonymously and only collates and gives you data which help doctors or hospitals to understand where you were, where you can catch this virus, and then understand the scale of this infection. So it could be another reality. As a Microsoft, what we do, we understand that this best practice is very valuable. So we are working on post-pandemic solution catalog, which will help any government, which will help any business to get benefit from this catalog, which contains solutions from our partners, from our customers, where they already successfully implemented. And hopefully, we plan some also World Summit, Microsoft-driven World Summit, where we will announce and share this catalog publicly, where everybody can benefit from this. And we believe that with doing that, with sharing this best practice, we can help businesses to recover after post-pandemic. Also, we saw that unemployment increases in some countries, which is also new reality because businesses stopped, economy collapsed, and there should be some thing which can help these unemployed people, and this is skilling. For example, inside our company, we have continuous learning policy and continuous learning, let's say not procedure, but it's a good attitude where everybody learn new things. And we observe that during COVID and post-COVID, people get a lot of digital technologies, which is they didn't never use before. And now they are investing their time to learning new technical skills, which will make them even more successful after pandemic, and they can gain new skills where later they can apply and be more successful. And last thing, which is also very important, we observe that this pandemic impacted to everyone, every life, not the same way. Some people stay very positive, but some very frustrated, some very distracted, and some get very lazy. So, for example, inside our company, there is good well-being sessions where you can join, and company attracts different entertaining programs online to help us to keep motivated. So this is another new reality where every entertaining place is closed, but you feel that you need some entertainment. You find some way how you can entertain yourself online. Of course, online gaming, online bars. In Russia, I saw on TV, they open it online bar where you can bring your own drink inside computer and drink with your colleagues. So this is new reality. And here, all businesses, all companies should focus diversity and inclusion. So they should observe that all employees have good mood, because we shouldn't forget that good times, these employees helped us to be successful. Why we shouldn't keep them or take care of them while we have these hard times? So I am proud of with Microsoft on that side, that companies really do a lot of things to keep us very motivated, and we don't feel that we are socially isolated. So every time we have collaboration, some well-being sessions, and I strongly suggest to our listeners, to our viewers, that please, inside your companies, try to organize such entertaining sessions as well, because it's equally important as normal business sessions, and it keeps your employee very loyal and very motivated, very positive, and later these sessions will pay back.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Gachay. We have a very short time now, and we have to just fit in there. And that's why I'm going to the opinions to again about the post-pandemic. Anar, please share your opinions. What will happen? What's your views on the post-pandemic? How the people has to react? Please go on.
Thank you, Imran. So I think that the digital transformation pace varies across different markets and different industries. And I think that if organization drew a plan to start a digital transformation, but they put off these initiatives all the time before the pandemic because of there were no considerable drivers. Now public and private sectors face the new reality. And here I want to mention that we as society are at the stage of our business life where the speed of assimilation of innovations increase among our organization, and including the both public and private sectors, which means that they should work together in order to develop this ecosystem as we started before. And several advices, I think that this assimilation of innovation will not be only in the terms of the technology, as we all said, but also of the corporate culture. And I believe that this will give the opportunity to realize that people's ability to submit the work successfully, not only within the offices. Here, I think that offices will become some kind of the hubs. And this is what the big companies, I think, have something to learn from the startups. One of the theses I will also want to mention is that it's the right time to pragmatically choose your own path of digital transformation without fanatism, for sure, and at the same time, not make the technology for the sake of technology, but for the sake of the best and flexible work and business processes inside of organization and good products for the customers. It's more important also that to take into the consideration information security and other cybersecurity risks. And I would advise organization and partners not only to conduct the ad hoc analysis and reports of their systems, and it's obvious that not every company do even these things, but also to make some scheduled analysis of their cybersecurity situations. So this is from my end.
And thank you. And we have a question from Jamila. I think that you answered this partially, saying that nowadays all innovations in a company are around the digital transformation. Can't innovation be unrelated to technology? And here why we say that of course, the digital transformation is not only about the technology, it's about the people, it's about the processes, and then it comes with the help of technology. And of course, we are handling here. So now, Patrick, please share your perspective on the subject. What will be after the COVID era?
Yeah, very interesting question. So from my perspective, I think that finally people who haven't believed in, you know, digital solutions and working remote, that it doesn't work and those kind of stuff, I think that they're gonna I think I'm gonna have 80% of those guys to be believers that it actually does work. Which is like a huge game changer, because, you know, in the past people were just reluctant, saying, hey, you need to be in the office from whatever 9 to 4. So, you know, I can see you have done the work. So I think that's going to be a tremendous game changer in how superiors are going to be dealing with their teams. And I think that's a great thing. I also think that there is going to be like new opportunities, right? Change is always good, usually, right? Because it brings an opportunity. And I think there's now a lot of companies like Microsoft, you know, and Zoom, who, like, you know, scaled up like hell with their products, and many more were said, okay, look, we have this niche. The same applies for, you know, small startups who say, look, we are in particular medical area, as I can see it right now. I think that, you know, everyone who's like an entrepreneur who has like those ideas, participate in you know, hackathons and you know, have your ideas being challenged and figure it out. I think there's going to be tremendous companies going out of that crisis, right? It might take some time, but it will eventually happen. And one advice in particular for, I would say, for the bigger companies that I would have, is because no one is usually doing it, is like, you know, looking at what went well and what did not.
Yeah.
You know, being prepared for the next crisis, anticipating the next issues, because certainly statistically something is going to come. Hopefully not soon. Hopefully we won't ever have the situation again. Bottom line is that I think there's a really great self-reflection needed to say, look, what can be improved in terms of what we're currently doing right now.
Excellent. So it's like the story of Black Swan, where nobody believed what it happened, or different stories that the Murphy's Law.
Well, don't let the Titanic sink the second time, right?
True. Thank you very much. And now the term for Alexander, I think that it's a good time to mention post-COVID era, and also please mention about the security challenges, not only with the mobile phones, but with the set of the technologies which are coming to us. What is the post-COVID era trends, or what's your vision? What's going to happen here? Please, Alexander.
Yeah, thank you. So first thing I want to mention is that nowadays I see that a lot of companies have already decided to continue working remotely after the quarantine. So I think that a lot of companies will place some of their employees at home. So this option will reduce costs on the offices, and and it will be more flexible for the employees, because also I see that a lot of employees, for example, in Kaspersky, like this situation because they can work from home. And we wanted to work from home for several years.
Some people liked it, actually. They loved it.
Yeah, some of the people liked it, but also I want to say that we don't really know when it will finish, and maybe the second wave of the quarantine. That's why our company Kaspersky decided to give free Kaspersky solutions, endpoint solutions, to healthcare industry. So we give half year access to our endpoint solutions for different purposes, and so on. And also one more important thing I want to say is about the companies which will decide to work from home. So there are several steps, several points which they should focus on. So the first one, they should figure out all the internal services which should be available from the outside, which should be to which should employees have an access. And then there should be a VPN or some other ways of secure connection between the home office and the main office. Yeah. And then all the employees should install an antivirus solution and the EDR solution and send this data to some central node in the main office, and there it should be analyzed to avoid some cybersecurity issues. And also we should buy more toilet paper, because we do not know when it will finish. So that's also an important thing. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Alexander, thank you. Especially you mentioned about toilet paper, which becomes like a very hot news on a subject everywhere. Especially I want to mention here, especially security connection is very critical. If we decided to just leave and stay at home, or use the other facilities, or just give up the office, but again, it comes around our decisions. So I think that I made a lot of notes during this talk, and I think it was very valuable. And I would like to thank you for each of you, spending your time and having really valuable discussions here. We had questions, and I think that we addressed most of them. But one question to the end it's from Ofelia Mazanova. She asks, especially Mr. Gachay, saying that, are you working on expanding the capabilities of the Teams program? So please answer this in the short, and then we wrap up in the fully.
Shortly, yes. For example, as in Microsoft, internally we use dog food version of this product. I have many capabilities which are not publicly available now. Still we are testing on it, but soon we will announce new version which have a lot of new features, and will I believe our 75 million daily active users will like it.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And I'd like to thank you to our viewers who took their time, 1.5 hours, and listened to us. And we tried to be precise. We tried to share experiences. And I think that it will be a really good time. And if you have any questions, you can address to any of us after this discussion. And I think that all of us will be happy to get back to you with your questions, answer to your questions. So thank you very much. It was really our pleasure being with you. Thank you.